All right, everybody, welcome to the Bruce Poppy Show. I'm Bruce Poppy. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about some finances and the unleashing excellence thing that I'm pushing out there, trying to be better than everybody else around me and help everybody become better. Finances is a big deal. So today's guest is Joseph Lombardi. He's the founder and CEO of Ironhawk Financial. Now, his financial path into financial planning wasn't driven by Wall Street. It was driven by a family tragedy, quite honestly, after watching his father's successful construction business collapse following a disabling accident and seeing other family members suffer from a lack of financial protection. He dedicated his career to helping families and business owners prepare for life's unexpected events. So today he specializes in asset protection, retirement planning, insurance strategies, and helping business owners build lasting financial security. So help me welcome Mr. Joe. Or you prefer Joe or Joseph? Which is better?
Joe's fine. Joe's fine.
All right, Joe, welcome to the Bruce Poppy Show. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing amazing, Bruce. Thanks for having me on, brother.
No problem. So when I was learning about you, one of the things that really intrigued me was the story. And I talk about on the show all the time that we are in this information warfare and this war of stories, war of narratives, and everybody has a story and everybody's story is important. You may think your story is not important. If you're watching this, you're just some guy, watching YouTube or Rumble or whatever. Do you think your story is not important? That's bullshit. Your story is important. So that's why I want to get into the story. So tell us kind of the origin story of Joseph Lombardi and the Ironhawk Financial. Tell us about your dad and what happened that changed your life.
Yeah, my story is kind of long and it's kind of sad. So before I was even born, my mom wanted to murder me, but my dad was pro-life. She begged my dad for an abortion. She didn't want to be a mom. And clearly she shouldn't have been, but thank God I'm here. Thanks, Dad. R.I.P. Pops. So, I'm born. I was born in Bridgeport Hospital, went down to Florida in Clearwater. My dad had his construction company laying tile, and he was getting paid garbage down there. And he was working his butt off trying to make ends meet. And my mom just wanted to party, drink alcohol, and do cocaine. So, literally, by the time my dad got home, she was already fully dressed and running out the door before he even came into the house from his truck. So, my dad got sick of that, as you can imagine. And my parents divorced at 4. I had $500, an F-150 van, and a TV and a blanket. And we moved to 6465 Main Street in Trumbull, Connecticut, in the attic with no running water. I slept on the floor. I ate noodles and eggs with ketchup. I ate hamburger helper. We couldn't afford the hamburger meat. And I pissed and pooped in a bucket. I didn't have a shower, so I was the poor, fat, smelly kid going to school every day, bullied at a nice, rich town in Connecticut. So that was super fun. And then my dad's business, started doing well because if you had a hammer in the late 90s, when that housing boom came, you were making 6 figures a year. And my dad's business took off. We sold my grandmother's house. I moved to Fairfield, bought a foreclosed property, and then from there, he married this closet alcoholic who drank vanilla extract and Listerine and almost killed my sister. My sister was born 2 pounds 7 ounces with alcohol syndrome. And then shortly after that, my dad falls 30 feet off a ladder trying to hang a mural in a $20 million mansion in Greenwich because he worked with the CEO of Coca-Cola, CEO of NFL, Paul Newman. And so he fell 30 feet. Lost everything. And then now here I am, stepmom's in rehab. My dad's in intensive care, and I'm 15 years old and she's 1. And so I had a choice, I either go to DCF, we get separated, and who knows if we ever come back, or I just keep my mouth shut and raise her and go to school. And I started working at a daycare on Child's Garden on Mona Terrace in Fairfield, and I'd walk down Tunx's Hill to Burger King every day. We'd eat Burger King with my paycheck, and so it was very hard. I didn't expect that to happen. I had to drop out of football, track, and basketball. And I used to ride my bike to school every day, rain, snow, sleet, didn't matter. So it was one of those things where it hardened me. It taught me a lot. I grew up in the streets. I had no mom. My dad was working before the accident, so I learned a lot of entrepreneur skills. I won't tell you. But so, it's one of those things, my family, they didn't plan right, and if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And then shortly after that, my mother dies, 52, from all the cocaine and alcohol, cirrhosis of the liver, go figure, right? And then my grandmother had a stroke, led to dementia, and she lost over $4 million to Ludlow Nursing Home in Fairfield, across from Sacred Heart University. So that took my grandfather 45 years building. He owned Lombardi Masonry, working with his bare hands with stone. So I realized that like it doesn't matter how much money you make if you don't have a plan, you're screwed because life happens. And so I wanted to dedicate my life to chasing, going after people that look like my dad: roofers, masons, landscapers, excavators, builders, plumbers, masons. And what I did is I started driving like 100 miles an hour on I-95. I got licensed. And I would find trucks: ABC Electric, 123 Plumbing, and what's on the back of every contractor's truck? Their cell phone. So I'd pull up behind them in this Chrysler Sebring with rust on it, missing a front bumper. And I'd be like, hey, my dad was JB Lombardi Builders. He fell 3 stories off the ladder, lost everything. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and a breakfast sandwich at the next Dunkin' Donuts off the highway and protect your family and save you millions of dollars in taxes? And so that was, they used to call me the dog because they used to chase trucks, right?
Wow.
So, like that's how it went. And then I started at 19 years old in the business, and I will be 42 years old in 2 days. So it's just every day I grind, I help, I look, I've, built a national brand, working 10, 12-hour days for 24 years, almost a quarter century. And I'm just trying to protect people, make sure their families are safe. I have clients that I deliver death claims who commit suicide. Just had one at 38 years old with 2 young daughters, 4 and 1. The woman was a non-working spouse, and the husband owned a successful tree company. I have people that die all the time and get disabled. I have like 20, 30 clients that have long-term care that are now in their home. They're not thrown in a 10 by 10 jail cell known as a nursing home through the government. So it's one of those things where I just try and motivate people to take action because it's a need product. It's not a want product. Nobody wakes up and is like, oh, how's my long-term care portfolio today? Well, I come into this world in diapers. I'm blessed to go out of this world in diapers. Do I have a plan when that happens? Right? Everyone thinks they're Superman until you find out your dad's a drunk guy in a cape, right? I love that saying. So it's one of those things where you just want to make sure you have a plan. And unfortunately, so many business owners, entrepreneurs, patriots, they fail to plan. So their plan is to fail.
Right. So that defining moment that you knew that finance was your calling, that was just living through your life and seeing your dad and everybody else around you basically fall down and not have a plan, like you said, and they plan to fail. So you didn't want that didn't want that to happen. Was that the moment that you knew, or was there another epiphany that you had?
There was. So here I am, right? I'm 12 years old, back in those F-150s, right around when MAD came out, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right?
Uh-huh.
So my dad created DAM, Drunks Against Mad Mothers, because he was afraid that he would like lose me, right? So he ended up going to AA. He quit drinking in 1991, and his whole life he didn't have another drink until he passed 1/1 of this year. So what happened was I'm in the passenger seat and in the truck. He picks me up from what I TLC, which I call torturing little children, but it was called Tender Love and Care Daycare. And so we'd go to a job site in Greenwich of all places. Because my dad at this point was working with filthy millionaires. So he pulls up to this house. The house is enormous. It looks like a resort. It doesn't even look like somebody's home. And like I go inside and they have an elevator and he's like, go play with the owner's son while I price out, doing, I don't know, putting gold statues in some guy's bathroom. It's just crazy crap. So, like I go downstairs and he's like, all right, we're going to go in the elevator. And I'm like, why are we going in the elevator? I grew up in an attic. We didn't have a basement. So bing, bing, bing. I get down the elevator. It opens up and there's a baseball field under the guy's house. And I'm like, what the fill in the blank? And I was like, okay, yeah, I had the time of my life. He had like arcade, basketball court, like all in the basement, like 40 feet. They must have dug before they built the house, dug down like 40 feet to put concrete and all. It was insane. So to make a long story short, I got back in the car. I was 12 years old, and I'm like, my dad, what the heck does that guy do? He goes, he works on Wall Street. So since I was 12, I was like, I want to work on Wall Street. I had no effing idea what it meant, but right. I just wanted that type of lifestyle, And then fast forward, I'm bartending at a nice hibachi place in Westport, and I had more requests because I was Joe. Everyone else was like Ching Bang and Chung Bang, and so like everybody wanted me because I spoke fluent English. So I was making boatloads of money. Bartending and waitering. And then the CEO of Northwestern Mutual comes in when I'm 19 years old, and he left me $1,000 tip and said, this is your signing bonus. You're coming to work with me. I was like, okay, I'm studying finance at Southern Connecticut State University at this time where I met my wife. Been with her every day since I was 18 years old. And it was like one of those things where it was like, sure. So I was going to school full time. I was bartending and waitering full time. I was running a financial practice. I lived in Fairfield. My wife was from Durham, which call it 50 miles north. I worked 20 miles south in Westport, and then I went to school like about 25 miles north. So I was driving 72,000 miles a year, working 14, 16-hour days with between college, between the restaurant, between trying to service clients and seeing at that point, my girlfriend. So it was a crazy, crazy experience, but it just taught me, I guess I'm blessed, right? Most people don't know what they want to do when they're 35 years old.
Right.
I knew what I wanted to do when I was 12. And then all these things that happened were just justifications. Because at that point, before my dad fell, I was supposed to take over his construction company, Joseph Lombardi Builders and Sons. And so he created a new LLC to have me come work with him. And then he literally falls like 2 months later. So it was one of those things where God had a different plan for me. And I literally just grind. I've helped God thousands of people over my career, to the tune of billions of dollars of protection rollover. So it's one of those things where I just keep doing the right thing. I keep praying to God that he keeps allowing me to protect people and help people in his name and his honor. And yeah, the doors are opening everywhere. My business is booming. I'm making 8, 9 figures a year. It's just crazy. And I'm just growing, trying to help. And, it's one of those things where I could have been a victim like most people.
Yeah.
Oh, boo-hoo, my mommy doesn't love me. Oh, boo-hoo, my daddy got disabled. Oh, boo-hoo, I grew up with poor. Boo-hoo, I'm bullied every day. I just took all that energy, turned it into fuel to ignite my motivation to grow something worth growing.
Yeah, that makes you different than a lot of people. So, I mean, from that mindset standpoint that you developed, seeing all of the tragedy that you've had in your life, I mean, where do you think that drive, to be able to do all that you have done and, live through all that stuff, was there somebody in your life that was pouring some of that stuff into you? How did you develop this crazy, just, kick ass and then forget about the names type of attitude?
I can't explain it. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 12:34 a.m. p.m. almost like every day. I believe I have some sort of guardian angel. I believe I have some sort of protective spirit, that looked out for me. I used to drive by the mansions in Greenfield Hill in Fairfield while me and my buddy were smoking a blunt of marijuana. But I'd be like, I want to own one of those one day. I'm going to get myself one of those one day when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. And sure enough, I had a journey of going through Amway and listening to all the CDs, the Double Diamonds, and Amway is a great company if you want to be an entrepreneur, not selling Amway products. So, I learned so much, right? So I took everything I learned and I just poured it into my business. I invested in the best investment, which is not with Ironhawk Financial, it's in yourself.
Yep.
Right. So I spent a lot of money with therapists, psychotherapists, spent a lot of money with growing spiritually. I Bible study every week, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Those are all multipliers to your financial health. And that's the big misconception people have is when they think of money, they think, oh, I would be rich if I just had more. It's like, that's not how it works. You look at people that win the lottery and they're not broke, they're bankrupt.
Yeah.
Look at rappers, look at sports athletes, look at celebrities. They get hundreds of millions of dollars. You're talking about thousands of average American salaries over the course of their entire life they get, and they blow it all within 24 to 48 months. So it's not about how much money you have, it's about how much you love yourself.
Right.
Because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to give a crap about your future self if you don't even give a crap about your present self. So it's one of those things where when I talk to millionaires, I've talked to thousands of them over the course of my career. There's been one thing sort of in common, and that's really that they care about their family, they care about their children, but more importantly, they care about themselves, not in a narcissistic politician sociopath way, but in a way that they sort of fill their hole that everybody has when they're born. We don't ask to be born to our race, our gender, our parents, our location. We didn't ask for this crap. I didn't ask to be born to a mother that wanted to murder me before I was born and then take off 48 months after I was born and like literally torture me my whole life. That's not what I asked for, right? So, but it comes to a point where you wake up, you grow up, you mature, you grow, you go from your caterpillar type life, which we all started, you go through your cocoon, which is, sex, drugs, dumb shit you do. And then if you're lucky enough to go through the cocoon, you come to this butterfly, right? And that's where you're closer to God, like an angel. So when you understand the process, which most people don't, they're just in the day by
Right.
day. They're either in depression because they're living in the past, or they're in anxiety because they're living in the future. But God gives you a present, and that's living in the now. It's the present. It's a gift from God. And when you're able to live in the present, you're able to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and all those multipliers to your financial health. And that's how you become a millionaire. It's not, oh, I need to print more money. Oh, I need to just add another zero to my income. It's like I have clients who make $800,000 a year and their net worth is negative. And then I have clients who make $80,000 a year combined, husband and wife. They're millionaires because they only spend 60 and they put 25% of their money away for the last 25 years. So when you look at it, it all comes down to habits, discipline, knowledge, and self-love, which isn't rocket science.
No.
Right? And everyone wants to spend their money on or their time on all this dumb shit that has nothing to do with their life that we were talking about before the podcast came on. What if the currency goes? What if Nassar? What if Q? What if it's like none of that bullshit matters. What matters is what are you doing right now to make your future self wealthier tomorrow than it is today?
Yeah.
And if the answer is nothing, then you are going to be broke tomorrow, the next day, the next month, the next year, the next decade until you die. So you have to build good, sound habits, and most people just don't do it.
Right. And so why do you think that, most people, because I've heard that statistic, it's not just something come from you. It's been over and over. 97 or 98 people out of 100 are going to die broke or, dead broke, and there's only one or two out of 100. So why do you think Americans, we're supposed to be living in the greatest country on the planet, why do they avoid this, this term, financial planning? It almost seems, it almost seems like, when you talk about financial planning, people get all weirded out, thinking you're like you mentioned Amway or multi-level marketing, some pyramid scheme, right? So no, why do people avoid financial planning so much if it's such an important aspect to be able to live a long, healthy life and, build something for the future?
It all comes down to programming. The government owns the educational system. The educational system programs you to invest with the government. You go to your accountant. The government educates the licensed accountant to have him tell you to invest with the government. So when you invest with the government, you're benefiting the government. Look at Social Security. If you invested the same dollar that they take out from your account every year from your income into just the S&P 500, nothing sexy, nothing crazy. It's earning about 6-7% over the last 25 years. Nothing crazy. 6.8 since 2001. Nothing crazy. You would have 4 times more money. And I'm not even talking about our 40 trillion they stole. I'm not talking about the trillions they stole from Medicare and Social Security. I'm just saying that one attribute. So then what most people invest in is what? 401ks, IRAs, SEP, Simples, pension, deferred comp, 457, brokerage accounts, Robinhood, these type of accounts, crypto. They have gold and silver IRAs, which, sorry to offend anyone, that's the dumbest thing you could buy. When you look at what people are investing in, they're investing in things that have 2 demonic leeches sucking away all your money. First demonic leech, Wall Street. I worked there. I was securities licensed for 17 years. I got the hell out of there. It's very demonic. I quit. Don't worry. I wasn't fired. I got the hell out. I was making a lot of money, but I was doing it, in my opinion, unethically and immorally. So when you look at it, we have, and you're thinking, well, Wall Street, they only take 1.5%. What are you talking about? 1.5% compounding on your entire amount of money, not your contribution, your entire amount of money cost you over 50% of what you put in.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. For every dollar you give into a 401k or IRA, Wall Street steals 50%. That doesn't make sense. Here you go. If I put away $15,000 a year for 30 years, 450 grand, by the time I'm in year 30, it's worth between 3 and 5 million. Let's just go low. It's worth 3 million. What is 1.5% of 3 million?
Far too much.
$45,000. Well, what's $45,000? That's my first year, second year, and third year full contribution stolen from me year 30. Well, what about year 29? What is 1.5 million? Or excuse me, 1.5% of 2.8 million. Well, that would be roughly around 40,000. Well, isn't that your year 4, year 5, and 10 months of your year 6? So you're talking the last 2 years of your retirement account that's managed, which I don't want to get into the fact of how they teach us. If the market goes down, great time to buy. Great time. Great job, Joe. You earned your 1.5%. If the market goes up, look at how much money I made you. Great job, Joe. You earned your 1.5%. Either way, I'm robbing you, and either way, you're getting screwed, and I have a reason why it's good.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, Wall Street steals 50% of your money in your 401k and your IRA. Then when you take distributions out, what do you got? Federal tax, state tax. So now you got 50% of your money being stolen by federal and state governments. Well, I do math for a living. If 50% stolen on the way up and 50% stolen on the way down, doesn't that leave me 25% of the money I put in? So you're telling me that for every dollar I invest in government type sponsored accounts, because then you can go down the path is, what is a 401k? Nobody knows. Oh, it's this retirement account thing that my employer. No, that's what it does. What is it? What is a 401k? It's an IRS code. That's all it is. 403B IRS code, 457 IRS code, college savings 529 IRS code. Well, what's the best IRS code to own? Is it the ones that are in the hundreds, or is it IRS code section 7702? Called the 7702 plan. I have over 4,000 clients investing. Well, that plan was made for millionaires and billionaires. What do you mean? It's sue-proof, divorce-proof, can't lose, averaging double-digit returns, tax-free, can lien the money out, has life insurance, disability insurance, critical illness, terminal illness, long-term care. It's incontestable in court. It works as a trust. And it's non-disclosable on the FAFSA form and doesn't disqualify your kids for grants, scholarships, low-interest student loans like a 529 IRS code does. Well, Joe, why haven't I learned this code? That sounds too good to be true. The programming. When's the last time you saw advertisement on a financial product? The answer to that would be never. And when's the last time you saw an ad for some medicine that the government made that can cause explosive diarrhea, your left leg to fall off, or death? Well, that would be every day of my life. Yeah. So when you understand that the powers that be, the programmers, that's why they call it a TV program, that's why they call it a television.
A lie, yep.
Vision. So when you understand that money is the number one thing talked about in the Bible, the number one thing. It's not God. It's not how to be a good human. It's not treat thy neighbor as thyself, which is a very strong principle in the Bible. They don't talk about that much. They talk about money more than any other subject. So it's kind of important. But yet you have the government, you have the media distracting you. You know more about your favorite baseball player's batting average than what the hell you're invested in your 401k. You know more about what's going on in a political party, which they're both the same wings of the same bird. And yes, there is one better than the other currently. That doesn't mean it will be forever. But when you look at it, it's one of those things where you are failing to plan. You are planning to fail. And there's no ifs, ands, about it. If you're not going to give a shit about your money, then who is?
Right.
Who is?
No,
your neighbor? No. Your dad? No, your kid, you expect your kid? What are you doing? And it's, I'm depressed. Well, you're living in the past. I'm so scared. Well, you're living in the future. Right now, nothing's happening. Right now, the money didn't turn. The Star is not here. Q's not here. Trump hasn't been killed yet. He's been shot at so many times. When you look at it, it's like, just live in the present. Focus on what you can focus. Grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And those are all multipliers to your financial health.
Amen to that. So somebody, like you said, most people don't look at this. And I know there's bunches of people that are watching this all across the age spectrum. I mean, I got people in the 20s. I even know people in their 70s, right? Watch stuff that I do. So somebody like say in their 30s or 40s, in the prime of their life type of situation, that have done absolutely nothing, no planning, no nothing. So where do they go? How do you start? I mean, they got husband and wife are working their asses off trying to keep the freaking lights on, and they don't, can hardly rub two nickels together. So where does somebody like that, how do they start?
It's pretty simple. You treat your dollars like your children. Do you know where your children are at all time? Do you know what they're doing at all time? Well, do you know what your dollars are doing? You have no clue. Do you know how much money the bank is making off your dollars by you keeping your money in a savings account? You know what I call that? That's called charitable contributions with no deduction.
Yeah.
You're making the bank a ton of money.
Yeah, they're giving you like I think, savings account, what? They get 1%, 2%, 3% if you're lucky.
Yeah, and then that's taxable, by the way.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, what the number one thing that everybody has to do, get out of debt. Debt is enslaving your future self. Yes, taxes are slavery. We know that. You got federal, state, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, Social Security. You got state tax. You got firearm tax, tobacco tax, car tax, cell phone tax. You have 34 taxes. I mean, if you take a dump in the toilet, I'm sure you're paying tax somehow on that, on the water. So when you look at it, you have to make sure that you don't enslave your future self by enriching your present self. And people do that every single day of their lives.
Credit cards are evil, man.
Debt. It's not just by debt. It's 401ks. IRAs are enslaving your future self. What do you mean? I go to my accountant and I ask him, what do you ask your accountant? What do you ask him? How do I save money this year? That's a dumb question. The smart question is, how do I save the most amount of money over my working years? That would be a smart question. Not how do I save money for 12-month slices of a 70-year lifespan, 80-year lifespan. That's stupid. So the accountant's like, well, if you're asking me how to save money this year, just defer it. Well, the last time I looked in the dictionary, the word savings and the word deferral aren't synonymous. I watch an NFL football game. They do a coin toss before the game starts. You lose, you defer kicking to the second half. Does that mean you saved anything? Did you save kicking? No, you still got to do it. You didn't defer nothing. You didn't save nothing. So when you look at it and then you defer, let's say $10,000. Oh, I saved $2,000 on my taxes this year. Now you defer 10. But let's go with your logic, Mr. Uninformed, ignorant person, because you were trained that way by the government. So it's not an insult. But let's go with that type of training. I defer 10 grand. I save $2,000. That 10 grand's invested usually in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, EFTs, something for 20, 30 years. What is it going to be worth in 20 or 30 years? Well, just inflation, it's going to be worth 80,000. So what is 45, 35, 40%? That's if taxes don't go up, which we owe 40 trillion, they're going up. What's 35, 45% of 80 grand? Well, that would be roughly around 35,000. So you're going to pay 35 grand later to save $2,000 today, and your accountant is helping you? And then multiply that by 30 years of doing it and saving up $3 million in a 401k where 1.3 million of it doesn't belong to you, and you wrote off maybe 80 grand of actual tax savings to pay 1.3 million later. The problem with all this logic is men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie.
Right.
So when you look at the numbers, we are trained, programmed by a government to enslave us. That's our Social Security number. That's your slave number, the ones that the Jewish people had on their arms. That's your slave number. And they don't care what color you are anymore. They don't care. They used to. They don't care what color you are. White, black, Chinese, Indian, they don't care less. They're enslaving everybody. So how do I get out of it? You do what the millionaires and billionaires do. Don't go in debt. Number one. Number two, have a budget. Number three, have a fire plan. If there's a fire in your house, do you have a plan to get your children out safely? Well, if you lose your job, do you have a plan to maintain your quality of life and not move to the hood? next to drug dealers and crackheads and gunfights. If you don't have these plans in place, life happens, and everything you've worked for. My grandfather, 45 years in masonry, $4 million back in 1990. What's that worth today? Like 25 million with inflation? Gone. See ya. My dad had a construction company worth $25 million of trust assets. If you were to sell it, a multiplier of this gross income, gone. My mom had no life insurance. Well, she died 10/3/09. My first child was born 11/3/09. I have 3 of them. So how did that go? Well, I just bought my house. I just bought the crib. Remember Babies R Us where they went under? Just spent thousands of dollars on the baby's crib. And then I get a bill. Oh, your mom's dead in Florida. I'm in Connecticut. Oh, well, we have to transport her body across state lines and they charge you per state line. I said, what the hell? But yeah, you owe tens of thousands of dollars. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars. Well, you're her only kid. I was her only child. She wasn't married, you know. I was like, are you effing kidding me? So I almost lost my house because my mom didn't plan. So you want to talk about being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually just drained, and then being hit financially drained on top of it. I go back to work harder the next day when I'm depressed and sad. I lost my mom and I didn't repair my relationship with her. It screwed me up for 15 years of my life. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks. It was awesome. So when you understand these things are so important, way more important than watching UFC or World Cup or NFL or baseball games. But people are so overwhelmed, they don't know what to do. I don't want to be scammed. I don't want to be having my money stolen. I don't know what I'm doing. So I rather just not do anything.
Yeah.
And that type of mindset is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your spouse. It's going to hurt your children. It's going to hurt your family. It's going to hurt your business.
Yep. So I noticed that you, because of probably your background with your grandfather, your father being contractors and entrepreneurs, that you spend a large chunk of your time in in that niche, if you will. And is that why? Because you have that history and you have a unique insight into what they're dealing with?
I have hyperactive ADHD, which is
no, I couldn't tell.
So, I use God's gift, God's talent as a gift, right? I'm on all the DraftKings commercials nationwide. I'm Joel in a pink suit, and that's why I gambled $13 million in 2021. So it can be used for bad. And then I found Jesus in 2023, 2024, and my life changed, and I 10x my income and my business exploded. So when you look at it, I was able to see what it was like to be extremely poor. I'm talking poop in a bucket, no money, sleep on a floor. In the summer, I remember slipping back and forth on the mattress on the ground because it was 80 degrees and I couldn't sleep. And I was overweight, sleeping. Imagine a fat kid with little untidy whities on and just sweating his balls off. Yeah, that was me for like the whole summer one year when we had a heat wave. That was fun. So I had that life, and then my dad's business took off, and then I was wearing Jordans and Michael Jordan authentic jerseys, going to Yankee games, going to Cowboys games, and then he fell 3 stories and lost everything. So from being able to see both sides, extreme poverty and extreme wealth, I said, which one do I like better?
Yeah,
I like the extreme wealth a lot better than extreme poverty. So I'm willing to do what most Americans aren't willing to do. You know what that's called? Work my ass off. If I'm not working, I'm playing. If I'm not playing, I'm working. And if I'm not doing those 2 things, I'm sleeping. And that's it. Just grind. I grind, I hustle, I network, I build, I get on cool platforms like the Poppy Show with Bruce, and I get to do cool stuff because I work my ass off when everybody else is sleeping. So it comes down to being able to grind. And if everybody got to see what I see, there'd be 2 parties. One would be a victim. Oh, woe is me. I can't believe my life was so hard. Nobody loved my mommy didn't love me. Or there's the other side that says, I'm going to take everything that I went through and I'm going to use as motivation and fuel to make sure that I never feel that pain again and my kids never feel that pain ever.
Right. So what, and all of the people that you've helped over almost a quarter century, as you said, I'm sure you see patterns. So what are the financial blind spots that you see over and over and over again?
Oh, so the word diversification is kind of important, right? It's sort of like finance 101, diversify.
Yeah. Don't have all your eggs in one basket.
There you go. What do Americans do horribly wrong? Well, Joe, I have real estate, a rental property, a primary home. I have an IRA. My wife's got a 401k. I got a Roth IRA. I have a gold and silver because I like holding it and petting it, making me feel all warm and gushy inside because I have my gold. I have crypto. I'm diversified. Eh. House, market. Rental property, market. Business, market. 401k, market. IRA, market. Gold and silver, market. Crypto account, market. So you're not diversifying crap. You just bought different things that are all correlated together. That's like owning Bitcoin and XRP and Ethereum. They all move in the same direction. Have you ever noticed that? Crypto? And that's how our assets go. So you're not diversifying your what? Market exposure. How many people own bonds? Remember those things called bonds that used to be a prudent strategy in your IRAs and 401ks to diversify risk? Well, when 2017 happened, interest rates went to zero. Nobody owned bonds. And that's where the stock market went, because all that bond money was now in the market, in Tesla, Apple, Google, right? Now NVIDIA. So when you look at it, we are not diversified whatsoever. I meet 80-year-olds that they have $7 million, 100% in tech stocks, 100%. I'm like, you're investing like you're 20. I mean, the market just drops 20 points. You're going to lose $1.6 million, and you need this money to live. Don't you want to leave a legacy to your grandkids? Isn't that the reason what you told me? And so that's number one. That's been a headache. Everyone I meet, not diversified with any downside protection whatsoever. Number two, tax diversification. Oh, my God. These people are screwed if they don't do a tax diversification plan. What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about it. House, taxable. Business, taxable. IRA, taxable. 401k, taxable. Rental properties, taxable. Gold and silver account, taxable. Crypto account, taxable. Oh, so I'm not diversified at all. When the market goes down, I'm going to get hammered in every single one of my asset classes. And when taxes are going to go up, I'm going to get hammered in every. Well, why do you think taxes are going to go up? Well, we owe $40 trillion. Highest marginal tax rate in the 1980s, when I was born, was 70%. Highest marginal in the 1960s were 92%. Yes, you heard me say that right. Fact check me. Go type in 100-year federal tax bracket picture. You'll see it like this. A little keynote on that. I find this fascinating. Taxes were optional. ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms. 1912. 1913, they said, okay, well, since everyone's paying it, we'll make it mandatory. Do you know what that rate was? 7.5%. Well, then we had 1914, 15, 16. Do you know by 1917, the highest marginal tax rate was 77.5%? Give the government an inch, they take 70 million miles. So you're telling me 4 years ago it was optional. 4 years later, it's mandatory 77.5%. Fact check me. Look it up. That was World War I, right? Then we won World War I, and what did our great government do? They said, thank you for killing all of our children in the country, sending them to be slaughtered and die. Thank you for turning all the motorcycle and car manufacturers and all the toy store into ammo shops and tank building shops. Thanks for doing all that. We're going to reward you by bringing it to 25%. Wait, isn't that over 300% higher than what we agreed to just a few years ago? Yeah, but it's good. It's not 77. It's only 25. It's good, right? It's like, okay. And then what happens? Great Depression comes. You know what they did in the Great Depression? They lowered our highest marginal tax rate from 25% to 24%.
Oh man, it's the kindness that comes out of these people.
Oh my, the government. Oh, that 1%. It doesn't matter the bread lines I'm in and the gas lines I'm in and people starving in the streets. But you lowered our tax rate by 1%. Thank you, government. Oh, I love you. You're so amazing. And then guess what happens? World War II comes. Goes from 25% to 80% in 4 years. Why do you think they're pushing World War III? We owe $40 trillion over here. when war comes, we go from around 20 to, 7 to 77, 25 to 85. Let's bring 39 to 90. And where is all your money? Taxable, 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 tied to the market with no protection. None. And this is how you're living your life. You wonder why there's so many scared people, because they don't know a better way. And good for you. I've written 3 books. They're all 5-star rated on Amazon, by the way. And one of them's called There's a Better Way Than a 401k. The other one called Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pain. And my highest grossing one is Being Your Own Bank. Stop keeping your money in banks where they steal all your money and start making all that profit you're making the banks into your family's pocket. And yes, you can legally do that. So when you understand codes, which nobody knows, we're not taught it in school, but we're taught the quadratic formula. When's the last time you used a quadratic formula, Bruce?
I don't even remember what it is. That's how often I use it.
Plus minus B over 2AC over what the hell they teach us this shit for? Why don't they teach us how to balance a checkbook? Why don't they teach us not to go in $400,000 in debt as a 17-year-old with college loan bullshit for a degree that doesn't work, that I can't use, that over 80% of these poor kids don't even use their $400,000 worthless piece of paper.
100% true, yeah.
And you wonder why they can't buy houses, they can't get married, they can't start families, they got to work. My best friend's a police officer. He has to work 16-hour shifts for the last year and a half to get to finally pay off his student loans. So when you understand it, they are enslaving you. They're enslaving your money, and you are a willing participant. Right. You are living in a jail cell with the door open, and you can walk your ass right out, and you're staying in there going, oh, well, I guess, this sucks. I hate being here. Government's bad. There's not much I can do. I'll just keep doing the same thing I'm doing over and over and expecting different results, which is a definition of insanity.
Yep. So I'm picking up this theme as we're talking here, Joe, that you're not a real big fan of the government.
I love my country. God bless America. But F the government.
Right.
They enslave us. They steal from us. They take from us. They jam down medical procedures. We can't go see our own family members. We can't travel. We can't even go to church. When's the last time church has been locked down? Never. Until the government says, oh, you guys can go riot and burn down, poor neighborhoods, but you guys can't go to church. Because when you're burning down poor houses and neighborhoods, that you won't get COVID. And you can go to grocery stores and big box stores and Home Depot because they all pay our salaries. Politicians should have those NASCAR jackets.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
All over them of who sponsors them, because those companies were open. But then how many small businesses were lost? Over 100,000 small businesses were lost. And that was more market share for the big corporations. Right. And how many grandmas did they kill? How much money did they save on Medicare and on Social Security by murdering millions of people over the age of 80?
Oh, I know.
It was the craziest thing that I can. And then people are just like, okay, sure, yeah, it's okay. Let me go back to watching football and baseball. Click, click. Like, we're living in the end times in the Bible. We're living where Rome fell was when? What? All the gay stuff happened, all the transgender stuff happened, all the people were distracted by the castles.
Yep, and then the bread and the circus, man.
The bread and the circus. So if you are not taking your presents, which is God's gift to you, you get birthday presents and Christmas presents. Well, at least I hope you do. God gives you one every single day of your life. What are you doing with it? Are you being a victim? Are you bitching and moaning and complaining about how bad your life is? Or are you getting your ass to the gym? Are you saving money? Are you going through your budget? Are you paying your quarterlies if you own a business on time? Are you doing the things that create extreme anxiety because you're worried about the future instead of staying in the present and fixing it?
Right. So now let me shift a little bit, because you've given us a ton of knowledge, man. Lots of things I didn't know or wasn't aware of myself, and a lot of things just make complete total common sense. But the financial industry, right? The big investment houses, the places like the Schwabs and the Fidelities, maybe not always have the best reputation. So why should somebody trust a financial advisor in today's market?
Great question. So what I do, I've worked in Wall Street. I've had Series 6, 63, 65. I had all my securities. I got rid of them March 21 on purpose. No, I had no complaints. You can look it up. I got rid of them because you lose your freedom of speech when you have FINRA and SEC down your throat. Now, do I have people in Ironhawk Financial that have those? Absolutely. So we can definitely work with you. But I got rid of them personally so I can write books. I can do podcasts. I'm on the cover of many magazines, like the top 40 under 40 in the country for finance, the who's who in building and construction. What the hell is a financial planner doing on a building construction magazine? Because I work with over 1,000 blue collar business owners. So when you understand what is going on, why work with me? Well, the reason is because I have never lost a client a dollar in 24 years, and I've never charged a client a dollar in 24 years, ever. Well, how do you do that? Well, what I do is we use this dirty word when it comes to finance. It's called an insurance company. That's insurance. I pay health insurance, auto, I pay car, home. I don't freaking know insurance. That's called a liability insurance policy. The wealthy people invest in 7702 plans. That code is embedded in a permanent life insurance policy. Oh, well, I have life insurance. I have group term at work. No, that's death insurance. That's another misconception that you're programmed to believe.
Yeah.
People hear the word life insurance and they think, oh, that's just if I die. Well, no, that would be called death insurance. So you're wrong. So when you look at it, life insurance, what millionaires and billionaires use, they do it to make sure, well, what if I get disabled? 1.5 million in cash. What if I need long-term care? 30,000 a month to stay home and hire someone to live with me 24 hours a day and not have Title 19 come steal all my assets, leave me with $1,200 and $60 a month for my pensions and Social Security, and thrown in a 10 by 10 jail cell with a stranger, being fed food I didn't ask for, and being taken care of somebody I can't fire. Doesn't that sound like something? Oh yeah, jail. It's called nursing home. So when you understand how important this is, that's what most people don't do. They're like, oh, I'm just trying to save up enough money, get a nicer car to impress my neighbor who doesn't like me. It's like, great job. Like, yeah, that's what you do with your money. Okay, wonder why you're going to freaking die poor. So when you understand this is so vitally important, and I'm not here to make anybody offended, but I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is that if you don't do these things, if you don't put your money with insurance companies, well, why would I put my money with an insurance company? Well, let's think about it. Do you know a bank? They do this thing called micro lending. For every dollar you put in the bank, they lend out 10 times the money. 10 times. So when I put 10,000 bucks in the bank, they loan out 100 grand on my 10 grand. Well, people default on loan, don't they? Go look up Silicon Valley Bank. Go look up Signature Bank. You're talking about $10 trillion just gone. Go look up the Dodd-Frank Act 2010. They can take your 401k. They can take your, when I say take, I mean take. But it's my Social Security. That's your slave number. Your property of the United States of America. Like, they could just take it. Well, why can't they take money in insurance companies, Joe? You ever heard of HIPAA? Remember COVID? Nobody's supposed to know you have it. Well, guess what life insurance has as a protection wrapper around your money? It has HIPAA. No creditor can find it. The government can't take it. Why do you think the millionaires and billionaires put their money? Where do you think banks put their money? You ever heard of something called BOLI? BOLI? I'm sure you haven't, but please look it up. Go down that rabbit hole. BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Banks don't keep their money in banks. Banks use 7702 plans. They don't even trust banks, and they own the motherfuckers. So when you look at what's going on, wake the hell up, right? So why insurance companies? Well, in order to be insurance companies, there's two things they legally have to do. Number one, they have to hold your dollars. They have to hold your dollars by law in their general account. So a company like Allianz has like $1 trillion in a bank account somewhere. They have to legally have to hold it. So if they don't hold my dollar, what else they have to do? They have to pay me a dividend to hold my money by law, or they're not an insurance company. So I put my money in insurance. Yeah, but how do I take it out? You lean it out like a home equity line of credit. Let's give you a quick example. Somebody like Elon Musk. He needs $100 million for a SpaceX rocket to shoot it on the flat Earth. It hits the firmament and goes sideways. I don't
Yeah.
even want to go down that rabbit hole. So Elon Musk shoots the rocket, right? Goes like this, scrapes the flat Earth, scrapes the dome we're in, and then goes down, right? Cost $100 million. Where does he get that? He has two choices. He has two. Wait, sorry, I have AI on my computer. There we go. He has two choices. Choice number one: he can sell $200 million of Tesla stock, pay $100 million in federal and state taxes, lose the future growth of the asset he sold because he no longer owns it, nets the $100 million, buys the rocket. That's what they train you to do, sheeple. That's what they train you to do. But he doesn't do that. Neither do 4,000 of my clients. What my clients do is, if Elon does, is he'll take $100 million of Tesla stock, bring it to a bank, get a collateralized assignment. Well, what's a collateralized? It's a loan. So the bank holds the 100 million shares as collateral in case he defaults on the money. Well, did he sell anything? No, still owns it. How did he get the 100 million out? As a loan? Are loans taxable? No, they're tax free. Wait, so option one, I pay 100 million in taxes, I lose $200 million of assets to pay $100 million of taxes, and I lose the growth on it. How does he still own the growth? Because he still owns the assets that are being held. What happens, which this happens to all my clients, what happens when you earn more money in your asset you still own that's being lien than what the loan is? You know what that's called? You know, they don't teach you this in school. It's called negative interest rate of return. Wait, that means I make money on the loan? Bingo! Wait, no, this sounds too good to be true. You're telling me there's a strategy out there, it's fully legal, called Irish Code 7702, that protects my family, protects me if I'm disabled, protects me if I need long-term care, it's sue-proof, it's divorce-proof, I can't lose, it's averaging double-digit returns, and I can lean the money out through something called non-direct recognition. When you take a loan out, they don't recognize the loan and still pay you as if the money's still there. Wait, how does that make sense? Because the loan doesn't come from your investment account or life insurance contract. It comes from the general account of the insurance company, and the lien goes against your death benefit because you are guaranteed to die. So if you buy a permanent life insurance policy, the insurance company knows, well, Bruce, I got to pay Bruce's beneficiary. He's not going to live forever. I got to pay him sometime. It's like owning a house, and when you die, the ownership of the house goes, the mortgage that you've accumulated goes back to the bank. It's that simple. It's super easy to do. And the average American, A, doesn't know it exists. B, doesn't understand that this is a viable way. But the good news in all of this, Bruce, is over 4 million people did it last year. So people are waiting. It's only 1% of the population, but people are finally starting to wake up. Now, are all 7702 plans good? Hell no. 80% of them suck and are going to blow up on you, and you're going to lose everything. Let me repeat that. 80% of these plans are built so that the licensed insurance agent, somebody like me, makes the most amount of commission and makes you the least amount of money. So you have to make sure that if you did one of these, it's done properly with the right carrier, right structure, right sub-accounts, right option contracts. Make sure it's not whole life, because whole life is direct recognition, unless you're one carrier, which most people don't have. So when you look at it, it's so vitally important to diversify. What if taxes go up? What if the market goes down? What if interest rates go up? What if inflation goes up? With my strategy, when taxes go up, you lose nothing. When the market goes down, you lose nothing. When interest rates and inflation go up, you make more money because you're purchasing option contracts. You're not holding any risk. So I know I just spit out literally my 25 years of experience in an hour, and most of the listeners have a freaking headache. But I'm telling you that everything I'm telling you is so vitally important. And it's one of those things that if you don't have a financial foundation, you're building your financial house on sand, it's going to collapse like it did with my mother, like it did with my grandfather and grandmother, and like it did with my mom.
Right. So now look, it's been here the whole time, the bottom there, that learnwithhawk.com. Is that where people would go to begin a process of getting some education? Because you talked about, I mean, a lot of the financial, the normal financial planner guys, they're always selling you shit that they get the highest commission on. They really don't care about you. Their products, maybe or may not be in the best interests. You talked about the markets, right? A lot of this stuff is tied to markets. And if markets go down, you get screwed. So you seems to me, as I'm processing all this information, that you're taking a different path, right? That you're using things, you're somewhat hacking the system, if you will, to be able to benefit your clients and benefit you at the same time without any negative effect to your clients. Am I distilling that into the proper terminology?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't lose money, if the market goes up, you're still going to cover inflation. But the number one goal of Ironhawk Financial is preservation of capital. One, hyper growth on your money. Two, and alleviate Wall Street, kick them the hell out of your financial plan, and then kick out the federal and state governments out of your financial plan. Is there a tax elimination strategy if you already made the deal with the devil and have $1 million in a 401k? There's not an elimination strategy, but we have a reduction strategy that will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Because again, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And when you look at the numbers tell the story, right? Somebody could say, well, 2 + 2 is 5. But when you look it on a piece of paper, use your calculator, you always know 2 + 2 is 4.
Right.
So it's making sure that what you are doing, you're doing the right thing, which is saving for yourself, protecting your family, but you're doing it in the wrong way with term life insurance, a standalone long-term care policy, an IRA, a 401k. The two most important strategies right now, given our current financial marketplace, is fixed index annuities and index universal life. Those are the two strategies that by far you're going to make the most money on. We have fixed index annuities paying 15% cash bonuses. I had a guy that put in $5 million. The insurance company debited $750,000 cash into his account. And then Morgan Stanley is the one that we buy the option contracts with, and that's averaging 14.29% a year. And then I have clients that say, Joe, I already have all my money taxable. What do I do? Well, we put it into an income annuity. We spit out monthly or annual amounts. We pay the taxes on it, a reduction strategy, and we put it into your clean glass of tax-free water. So think of a pitcher of lemonade that's all dirty taxable dollars. Think of a cup with a filter on top that cleans out all those taxes. And we pour that in there, and then that bucket grows while this one goes down, and over a 20-year period, depending on the size, puts millions of dollars in your pocket.
Awesome. So as we bring this plane in for landing, I like to do the lightning round. And this is just a real quick, I spout out a couple of things, and then you just pop, what's, real quickly, what's in the top of your head. So first off, stocks or real estate?
Real estate.
Second, the biggest money myth?
Taxes.
Taxes. And then the best financial book besides your own.
I love Who Moved My Cheese.
One more time?
Who Moved My Cheese.
Oh, that's a good one. One habit that builds wealth.
Budget.
And that's what you mentioned about the government. The government hasn't had a budget since the 1990s, just so you know.
Why are they 40 trillion in debt, and why are there 300 million Americans in debt? Because they don't have a budget either.
Biggest waste of money?
Government retirement accounts.
Emergency fund or investing first?
Emergency fund.
And I think I almost know the answer to this question, because even before we started, I saw coffee or energy drinks.
I'm allergic to caffeine, believe it or not. So I'm going to go with coffee, because coffee's for closers.
Nice. Because what was that you were sipping on before we started there? Was that?
This is a vodka. This is a Surfside peach vodka.
Nice. So if everyone listening to this did one thing this week, what would it, if everyone listening did one thing this week, what would it be?
Find Jesus Christ.
Awesome. And I would add on a second one, go to learnwithhawk.com. Because there's, like I said, there's no way we can go through and get into the dive, help people understand this. But I think we've getting distilled this down, that you know what you're talking about. You have something that's different than everybody else is looking at, and it's worth looking into and checking it out. Learnwithhawk.com. So our last closing question. I'm sorry?
I said, and it's free.
Yeah. What's one piece of financial advice everyone should hear today, regardless of their income?
That you are a millionaire. You just haven't unlocked the habits yet to get there.
Nice. I like that. You know, because I've been doing study and all that stuff too. Being a virtual millionaire. You know, if you can get to where you have what, $60,000, $50,000, it varies a little bit of some type of other income, you're a millionaire on paper, right? Because that's the return that you kind of get off of that money based on the basic numbers, generalities. I know everything. There's the minutia and there's shades of gray, everything in between.
Yeah, I mean, and then the question I would ask is, what's more important, assets or income?
Assets or income?
What's more important?
I think income.
Correct. Over 90% of people believe assets are more important.
Right, and that's another fallacy that we've been taught and programmed our entire life, thinking that our home is an asset. If you really bake it, pull all the bullshit off of it, it's more of an asset than it is it's more of a liability than it is an asset. Owning your home.
Dumped $1 million into my house with the pool, the in-ground pool, the dance studio for my daughter, the basketball court, the hot tub, the sauna, because I just wanted a spot.
As we close up here, that when you were 12 years old and you went down in the elevator into the bowels of that with the basement, everything there, now you've attained that type of situation yourself, and your kids are experiencing that.
Yeah, it was, God has really blessed me. I mean, I lost about 10 years of my life through depression because of my mom's death and anxiety and panic attacks and all that fun stuff. But when Jesus got me through it all, I saw clear to what my path is. And I just, gave up a lot of the demons that attached to me and bad habits that I didn't realize I had. And, yes, I learned a lot, and a lot of it came through finding a strong woman. Your wife is probably, or husband, whatever, it's 2026, right, is one of those most important things you can find in your life. Because having a supporter, somebody that's going to be there, like she takes care of the 3 kids while I'm out here grinding and building, and I know they're safe. I know they're protected. I know that, they are learning, and somebody with them that loves them is pouring into them ethically and morally and spiritually. So it really takes a village, as they say, but your first village person is your partner. And that's one of the most important things that can happen. So I know so many good men that went through divorces and lost everything. So there's a lot more to finance. That's what people really don't get. They're looking for an easy answer. And I've been doing this 24 years, over 4,000 clients. I haven't done the same plan twice. Having a custom plan is so important to your growth.
Right. So there's not one size fits all for everybody. You just don't.
No. And if someone works at, let's say, a company, New York Life or MetLife, like I used to work, and they're trying to sell you, auto, home, life, annuities, life, retirement, all through the same carrier, get the hell out. Find a broker, somebody who puts you first, not the company. And there's so many people that work with these type of companies where all they do is just sell them the same company's product, and the probability of one company being the best at 9 different products is 0%. So you're better off finding a broker who puts you first than finding a company who puts that piece of paper called the corporation first before you, the client.
Awesome. Appreciate your time there, Joe. Again, learnwithhawk.com. Go there, get all the information, and you'll, I'm sure you can probably through there, book some type of consultation or just some, feel about type of thing. Joe's a patriot. He's fighting hard for we the people. And if you haven't picked that up through today's show, then you ain't been listening. So I appreciate Joe and everybody who's watching. Next time, we'll see you here on the Bruce Poppy Show. I'm a fat kid in dodgeball. I'm out.